Hi guys, welcome to the episode. Today, going to be making another Gaslands car. So here I have a disassembled Hot Wheels car and some 3D printed bits. I stripped the chassis by dipping that in 99% alcohol and leaving that overnight, then scrubbing it with a brush. Then, with some thin plastic art, going to cut some rectangular shapes. I'm going to make some armor panels and supports. Thought it would be neat if the kind of bomb was on the back as some kind of like jet booster. Very impractical, but goes with the Mad Max type theme. So I'm cutting two V-shaped grooves and going to glue those into the back of the pickup bed. You might need to use some sandpaper and rough up the surface of the metal if you're not getting good adhesion with the super glue. Then gluing the double gun on top of the cabin. And once those V-shapes are secure, going to glue the bomb on top of them. Then, just going around the front, going to put a few rectangles on, just add some armor plating and kind of patchwork to the chassis. Then with some thinner strips, going to add some supports to the back hold. Now, these I actually end up replacing later and tweaking a bit. But for the windshield, going to bend a piece of plastic art, trim it down to shape, and then using a pin vise, going to drill 4 holes in, and then cut out the intersection between them. This will give 2 kind of eye slits. Then just checking that they line up, and clipping the intersection. I found it was useful to use a mixture of clippers and a knife here, and then I went in finally with a file, just to get some kind of squared edges on them. Doesn't have to look neat. Chances are in the apocalypse nothing's going to be that neat. But I decided on this one I didn't want to cover the entire thing with armor plates. I wanted to keep a bit more of the natural chassis and keep that pickup truck vibe. So, with 2 semicircles, going to fill in the wheel gaps. It's useful to kind of dry fit the undercarriage, make sure that the wheels can still run if you want it to. Then, with some trim sections of paperclip, going to attach those over one of the back wheels. And then again, with a piece of a base I trimmed down, just to get some variation in where they got the armor plating. Then, with the pin vise again, going to drill some bullet holes in the side, and with a sculpting tool, going to add some scratches and texture to those replacement panels. Then making sure the undercarriage still fits in. If you're going to fill up the kind of wheel ports, then you probably want to do this beforehand. And if you want to remove the chassis from the undercarriage, you actually need to trim those screws off the bottom. I decided I wasn't going to bother replacing the clear plastic windows, because they'd probably be smashed out anyway. Take a few second break to play with the car, and then grab your Vallejo surface primer and give the entire thing a coat of black paint. You might want to hit it with some sandpaper beforehand, just rough up the metal surfaces, get some better adhesion. I went in with a second coat of primer later on to hopefully get everything to stick down together. I then reassembled the car, and make sure you put the glue on the connectors and not the kind of wheel spokes, because otherwise that will stop the wheels from moving, and that is the most important feature. This one is quite good as the wheels are quite recessed back from the arches, so I was able to completely cover them up and make them almost flush with the wheels. So with some more bits of plastic art, just going to go in and fill the side windows, because I realised that there was no interior on the car, unlike the other one I bought. There's no seats or wheel inside there, it's just completely blank. So just hide it. It's the mature thing to do. Then, with some more strips, just going to add them onto the back near the bomb. I pulled the existing ones off, then re-glued them at this point, and we can move on to painting. So first of all, with a rust brown, going to coat the entire thing as a base coat. Now you want to hit the recesses with this, because anywhere you don't hit with paint later, we want to have a little bit of rust showing through. I decided I want to go for a slightly bright car this time, so I grabbed a teal and painted the chassis in a kind of not consistent paint job, just enough to get the colour down. Then, once you've got some colour down, we're going to grab a metallic paint, in this case Boiler Black by P3, and we're going to hit the edges and anywhere where we want the metal to show through. You can be pretty liberal with where you want the metallics to go. It's all going to be tied together a bit later. So I'm just putting in a few of the recesses and where I want there to be kind of the paint work has been rubbed down. Now, with a watered down, very dark brown black paint, we're going to give a coating, and we want to focus this on the edge of where the metallics are showing, so we can get a slight impression of depth where the paint is kind of rusted off. And then with a more watered down version, we can go over any of the main chassis areas, and then with a slightly darker concentration, just hit the recesses and the edges between the panels. And this is going to tie everything together and give it a nice sense of depth. Then, with a gunship green, we're going to go in and paint the bomb on the back. You've already got to question who would just have a bomb on the back of their car. I mean, maybe they converted it to some kind of booster. Maybe it's just a bomb. I don't know. Then with some yellow detail, we're going to paint the middle section, because that means it's probably radioactive. Why not? And then we can also use a little bit of yellow to dapple that onto where the rust is and give it a little bit of a highlight. Then, grabbing our Vallejo earth texture paste, we're going to go around and dab it all over the undercarriage. And it's probably slightly easier if you use a brush for this, because if you do hit the metal chassis with a sculpting tool, you can easily rub the paint off. Even with a layer or two of primer, metal on metal is always going to rub off. But just glob that around the wheels and the sides, and I put a good amount on the grille as well. And once that's dry, we can go on to the final detailing step. So, with some more metallic paint, we're just going to add some scratches onto the bomb and give it a light dry brush around the back to pick out the details. And then, with a beige or a pale sand, we're going to go in and highlight the texture paste, because that makes that nice kind of unidentifiable mud colour. Fits in a lot of different environments. Could be a desert, could be grassland. It's a very neutral, adaptable colour. Doesn't matter if you go over the edge of the paste a little bit, it's just going to look like dust and grime anyway. There we have it, our finished Gaslands truck. And bring in the other one for scale comparison. Yeah, thanks for watching guys, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.